All right, tonight we're going to start in our Unit 4, Lesson 25. Subtract a fraction from a mixed number, Part 1. 1 and 3/8 take away 7/8 is how much? All right, well, we're going to have to do some figuring out because we can't take this big number from this small number. So what we have to do is we have to take this whole number here and make it into a fraction. Just like we've been taking our fractions that have the numerator and the denominator the same, and then we have to turn it into a whole. Well, now we got to go back and reverse that now. So, since we're talking about the denominator is eighths, that's how we know what our whole is going to look like. So it's going to be 8/8. And we need to take this fraction here and add it with that 8/8. And now we have an improper fraction, or a fraction greater than 1, 11/8. Now we're able to subtract this with 7/8. And we get 4/8. But just like I've told you this before, 4/8 can be simplified. So what we're going to do is we are going to divide the top and the bottom by the greatest common factor they both share, which is 4. 4 can go into the top and the bottom, numerator and the denominator. And the numerator, we're going to get a 1, and the denominator, we're going to get a 2. So 1 and 3/8 take away 7/8 is equal to a half. And a half is equivalent to 4/8, which we simplified by using 4. All right, moving on. 3 and 1/6 take away 4/6. Same issue here. We cannot take this big number from a small number. So we need to break down this whole back to a fraction. So how do we know what fraction that we're going to show that is a whole? Well, we need to look at our denominator. Our denominator is 6. So now we know that we are going to be able to take this and break it into 6. And thing is that we only need to have one whole, because 3 is 3 wholes. So we only need to break it down to 1. So if I take this 3 and we have 2, and then on this side, I'm going to make it 6/6, because 2 and 6/6 is really equal to 3. So now we're going to make sure that we add on our 1/6. So now we have 2 and 7/6. And then we're going to subtract that with our 4/6. And we're able to do that now. So we have 2 wholes. The numerator is going to have a 3, and our denominator stays the same. So 2 and 3/6 is our new mixed number when we subtract 3 and 1/6 minus 4/6. Now again, getting into that habit, what can we divide the top and the bottom by? Do they share a common factor? They do. They share 3. So our whole number is still 2. Our numerator now becomes a 1, and our denominator becomes a half. So 2 and 1/2 is our new mixed number. 5 and 4/10 take away 9/10. Okay, so we cannot take 9 from 4. So we need to break down this whole. And we're going to take a whole away. So that leaves us with 4. And the fraction that represents that whole, well, we look at our denominators and it's a 10. So that's how we know what fraction as a whole is going to look. So it's going to be 10 tenths. And we attacked because we took that whole away from that 5 when we're left with 4 and 10 tenths, because 4 10 tenths is really equal to 5. But now we have to add on this fraction, and now we have a new mixed number of 4 and 14 tenths. And now we're able to subtract that with 9 tenths. So our whole number is 4, and the denominator stays the same. 14 minus 9 is 5. So our new mixed number is 4 and 5/10. Again, 5/10. Can it be simplified? Yes, it can. It can be simplified by the greatest factor they share is a 5. So now we keep the 4 the same, our 4 wholes. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 10 twice. So our new mixed number is 4.5. 1 and 2/6 take away 5/6. All right, so this time we only have one whole. So we are going to take this whole and we're going to break it up and make it into a fraction that represents a whole. How do we do that? We look at our denominator and it's 6. So this is going to become 6, 6. But be sure to add on your 2/6. And now we're left, no, it's not left, but now we have a total of 8/6. Now we can subtract it with 5/6. And 8 minus 5, well, that's 3. And our denominator stays the same. And then if we look again, 3/6, can it be simplified? Yes, it can. It can be simplified by the factor they both have in common, which would be a 3. So the numerator becomes a 1 and the denominator becomes a 2. And again, we have another answer of a half. A lot of these previous problems had that same fraction, 1/2. Doesn't always work that way, but in this case, it's working that way. 5 and 2/8 take away 5/8. Well, again, you can't take a big number from a small number, so we have to break down that whole. And if I remove one whole, we're left with 4. And since we're talking about 8s, that is how our whole is going to be represented, 8/8. So 4 plus 8/8 is really equal to 5. Now we need to take the fraction that we're attached to and add it to our 8/8. Now we're getting 4 10/8. Now we can subtract that with our 5/8. And what do we get? Well, we get 4 as our whole. And 10 minus 5 is 5. And the 8 stays the same. Carefully look at 5/8, the fraction. Can it be simplified? Do they have any factors in common with 5 and 8? They do not. So, therefore, 4 and 5/8 is already in simplest form, and that's our new mixed number. From 5 to 8, take away 5/8. 6 and 5/12, take away 11/12. All right, our last example for tonight. Well, let's break down that 6 and take out a whole so we can subtract 11 from that. Well, if we remove a whole, we're left with a 5. And since we're talking about 12ths, 12/12 is going to represent that whole because 5 and 12/12 is really equal to 6. Now we need to take the fraction, this fraction here that our previous mixed number had, and we're going to add it on to 12/12. So now we have 5 17/12. And now we're going to subtract it with 11/12. So our new whole number is 5. 12 stays the same. And in the numerator, we're left with a 6. 17 minus 11 is 6. Okay, looking at that very carefully, guys. 5 and 6/12. Can 6/12 be simplified? Yes, it can. But what greatest factor does 6 and 12 have in common? The greatest factor, it would not be 2, and it's not going to be 3. It's going to be actually 6. 6 can go into 6 and 6 can go into 12. You want to go as high as you can when you're simplifying with fractions. Don't always think that 2 is going to be it because you might actually have to divide by 2 again. So 6 is perfect. So let's bring over our whole, which is a 5. 6 goes into 6 one time. 6 goes into 12 two times. Look at that. Another half as an answer. 5 and 1/2 is our new reduced, simplified, mixed number. When you feel confused, hopefully you guys aren't looking like that right now. Let's see how you do on the next two problems. 2 and 1/5, take away 3/5. Make sure you're simplifying your answers, and I want to see all the work tomorrow. Huh? What was that? Hopefully you guys aren't giving me that look right now. But we'll practice this more tomorrow. Have a wonderful night.